first you're going to go to teacher.desmos.com, and that will bring you to the Activity Builder and the Activity Center. To get started, you'll click in the top right-hand corner, Sign In. Desmos allows you to sign in with Google, so we'll just click Sign In with Google, and it should pull your TSC Google information. Once I sign in, then I'm in my home page for teacher.desmos. All of these are featured activities that people have already put together, and I can absolutely use any of these. Bundles are new, and they are several activities put together that cover the same standards. So if I'm looking at this exponential bundle here, it's going to give me some key understandings. What should my students get out of this? Some activities. It's going to give me just a quick overview of all the activities, and then I can go in and see each of these activities individually. I do not have to do this as a bundle. I could do it as a single activity. So if I only wanted to do this one, exponentials, I can click on that and look at that activity itself. I can search for an activity at the top using some keywords, or I can look through these bundles here. So I'm going to go to the linear bundle. And the activity that I'm going to be looking at today is called Put the Point on the Line. Once this activity loads, I can look at, again, the main ideas for this activity, and I can also look at the screenshots. So what am I going to be seeing? What will my students be doing during the activity? And then I can go to a student preview as well. So in the student preview, it's actually showing me what the student should be doing. It's going to give me some tips as the teacher, and I can tab through this entire activity. Once I'm ready to send this off to my students, I can create a class code. If I'm not completely ready yet, I can bookmark this. So if I bookmark it, if I go back to the main screen for Desmos, I have this Your Activities Bookmark Custom History, so I can go to Bookmarked, and then I can see which ones I've bookmarked. So back to that activity, now I'm ready to actually go ahead and try this with my students. I create the class code. My students don't actually need to be in my class in order for me to do this. I can create the class code and then post it on Canvas and let second hour know that their class code is 8A or 8M2PN, something like that. I can also get a student link. So this is going to be, if I copy and paste this link into Canvas, all they have to do then is just click on the link and it takes them directly to their activity. My suggestion is if you teach multiple periods and you're going to be doing this activity often throughout the day, that you actually create a different class code for each one of your periods. It's just going to help you stay organized once your students actually submit things in there. So once I'm ready, I send this off to my students, and then all my students have to do is go to student.desmos.com, or like I said, they can just click on this URL. So I'm going to go there as a student. And I'm going to say, I'm going to join. And here I am in my activity. Now, I was signed in previously, but my students will have the option to either sign in with Google, sign in with Desmos, which means they've actually created their own account, or continue without signing in. Again, just a tip. I would have them sign in with Google. It's going to be the easiest thing. It's going to grab their information. Then you can track students. They don't have to worry about creating an account and so on. I click go, and then I'm ready to go. So as a student, I'm going through the activity. And this is what my activity looks like. I can read the introduction. It's going to show me some things about what I might be learning today. And I tab through each of these. So it says on this one, put the black point on an imaginary line through the two blue points. So I'll say it's about there. And again, this is guess and check for my students. So let's see. It was pretty close, maybe a little higher. And it's going to ask me to do this a couple of times. All right, so let me go back to the teacher portion of this. And if I go back to the teacher portion, I'm going to go to my view, my dashboard. And I can already see that I have a student that's in there. The student obviously was me, and I can see what the student is doing. So here's where they put the point. They're working on the third activity here. And imagine I've got 30 kids in my class or 25 kids in my class. It's going to actually give me the number of students that are on each of these tasks. So I can do it student-paced. They get in, they go through the challenges, and everybody's working at their own pace. They finish whenever they finish. I can also do teacher pacing. So I have the option here to do teacher pacing, and then I can say, I actually want everybody to just work on this screen. And then I can interact with my students. I can tell them, okay, everybody put all your stuff on there, and then let's talk about what we got. Is everybody on the same page? Are we ready to move on? Do we need to review things? Things like that. I can also pause the class. So when I pause the class and I go back over here, then for my student, even if it's student-paced, I can pause the activity. I can say something about it. Maybe we're going to continue notes or whatever we need to do. Activities paused, nobody's working on it, which is fantastic. The other option that I have here is anonymize. So I can pull this dashboard screen up for my students on my Eno board. I can have everybody over here on the left-hand side, and if I don't want them to see each other's names, I can anonymize, and then it's going to change their names. When I go to each of these activities here, it's not going to have a different name for them, but as the teacher, I will know who actually did that work. So I can still give students points if they need that for participation or whatever it may be. To manage my class, I can also decide to hide a student from the class. So if I don't actually want somebody to show up, or as a teacher, I want to be able to do it, but I don't want my students to see me as in the class, I can do that as well. Once students have started an activity, there's a few options of, how do I want to run this? I can absolutely do it as a in-class, everybody's working together kind of activity. I can also leave this open for a night or a couple days and ask my students to just complete it in their own time. But once I'm finished with an activity, it is a good idea to actually close out that activity so students can't participate anymore. So if I click the three dots on the side of the activity here, I can archive it. Once my activity is completed and it's been archived, I can go into the history section of my activities and actually go back and look at what did my students do, how did they answer those questions. So I'm going to go into this activity that I did with a group of teachers prior to this, and I'll anonymize it. And I can look at each activity and say, like, on question 7, how did everyone do? And of course it was a group of math teachers, so everyone did pretty well, but I can see my students' responses and I can say, like, Marianne didn't do very well on this, or did really well and I want to let her know, or I need to give some feedback to some of my students. We need to review some things. So I can still always go back to each of these. I can also click on a specific student and look at all of their activity. So just depending on what I want to get out of it, what my students got out of it. And sometimes it's just opening up more conversations within the class because you're able to see, like, yes and no. You're basically looking at every single student's notebook on your computer screen and able to see, are they getting it, are they not getting it? So it's a lot of really great information here.